Hey friend, welcome. It's Michaela, but you can call me Mac. Today we'll be updating the reading journal with all of the books we read in May. Let's just jump right into it. Oh, before we get into that, let me give you a quick update on April's reads. Alex and I were so sick the last 2 weeks of April, so there wasn't much reading and there definitely wasn't much journaling going on. So I did end up reading these 3 books here from my Goodreads Choice Awards challenge. I read I'm Glad My Mom Died, which I gave 5 stars. This was an excellent read. I also read Hidden Pictures, which was like an okay-ish read. And then I also read Lessons in Chemistry, which again was another like pretty okay book. The first book I read in May was called That Time I Got Drunk and Yeeted a Love Potion at a Werewolf. This is the second book in the Mead Mishap series. I read the first book, That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon, earlier this year and absolutely loved it. This book was no different. So Kimberly Lemming's absolute mastery of humor and her ability to create lovable, relatable characters just make these books an absolute joy to read. I just love them. So this story follows Bree, who is a cheesemaker and Cinnamon's best friend. Cinnamon is the main character of the first book. So I'll try not to give away too much of what happened in the first book, but basically this story begins with Bree and Cinnamon and they're hanging out at a bar with a couple of other crazy characters from the series. And this guy is trying to talk to Bree. He's even trying to give her a drink and she's just like not interested, but he keeps hounding her and hounding her and hounding her. Finally, she takes the drink and she tries to throw it in the guy's face, but he ducks and it ends up hitting this guy named Felix who's standing behind him. Little did Bree know, this drink was actually a love potion. So as soon as Felix turns around, he's instantly in love with Bree, and thus begins their story. Felix is trying to convince Bree that she is his fated mate, and she's just like, whoa, I'm so sorry, sir, but you are drugged right now. I don't really know about that. Let's wait a couple of weeks until, the love potion wears off, and then maybe we'll have this discussion a little bit later. Okay, so let's talk about Bree. She is an absolute delight. She's so adorable and cute. She's relatable and vulnerable, and her inner monologues are hilarious. I also adore Felix, the lovable werewolf. Although he can be a bit possessive at times, I understand the whole like imprinting and fated mate situation thing or whatever, but the relationship is filled with such sweet, tender moments. Although they're going through this like whole chaotic situation, their chemistry is absolutely palpable, and their journey from like accidental love potion disaster all the way through this chaotic adventure and them finally figuring out like what their relationship actually is just so sweet and so cute. So there was this one part in the story where I was just like, what is going on? I am not quite sure how to feel about this. Is this something that I need in the books that I'm reading in my life right now? Like, yes, maybe no, maybe I don't know. But if you know, you know. I'm gonna leave it at that. I am not going to expose myself. Okay, thank you, bye. Let's move on. Anyway, overall, I gave this a 4.5 star. I just absolutely love this book. I did like the first book better just because I think that the adventure in that book was a little bit more thought out, where this one felt a bit random at times. I don't know, maybe that's just me being picky, but I love this book and I cannot wait to get my hands on the next one. I love it. So my mom and I have been doing these reading challenges this year, picking out each other's next read, kind of doing like a little blind date with the book situation. We also read a book backwards, which was a time. We did it. It was fine. It's probably not as chaotic as you're thinking it is. I will link that so you can go check it out, but it wasn't too bad. So I used to read a lot of choose your own adventure books when I was younger, so My Lady's Choosing was a welcome surprise when my mom picked that to be my next read. In this book, you are the main character and it's set in the middle of 19th century society where courtship season has begun. It was giving all of the Bridgerton feels. I was so here for it. Since this is a choose your own adventure book, all of the choices that you make will influence your path and ultimately who you end up with. The author includes bios and pictures of each of the 4 suitors in the beginning of the book, so you can see what they look like and read a bit more about them, which will help you make your choices throughout the book. I had so much fun reading this book. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was not the most riveting piece of literary work to exist, and the smut was laughable at times. It's filled with satire, but it was just so much fun to choose the different paths that like reveal different plot lines. Okay, and let me also tell you, the first choice of choosing your suitor really tests your morals. Well, at least it did for me, kind of. So on one hand, you can head to London with Benedict to attend society balls and parties and gatherings with other folks of the ton. Or on the other hand, you can head to the slums with Mac and volunteer to teach orphans how to read. For the record, though, I did choose to go teach orphans how to read, but, you know, to each his own. I mean, like, it honestly doesn't really matter because I was going to read every single page in this book. It did not matter. I was going to read Benedict's storyline anyway, so I did end up choosing to go with Matt during the first storyline. So the different plot points ranged from fairly normal, happily ever after endings, and some of them were more random and contained things like spies, undercover agents, werewolves, haunted mansions, and hidden tombs. I mean, like, it was a lot. But I also really enjoyed how you didn't necessarily have to end up with one of the 4 suitors outlined in the beginning of the book. There are other side characters and paths you can choose that gave completely unexpected endings. The book also had these cool illustrations to help tell the story a little bit more, and you could see your suitor that you were pursuing. And let me just say, I really appreciated how she included a woman suitor. Evangeline is your best friend, basically, and she's actually woven in and out of, I think, pretty much all of the stories, all of the different plots and storylines. This book kind of spanned over England. I believe Benedict's story takes place in London. I don't know where Garraway's story takes place. It's somewhere in England, and then Mac's story takes place in Scotland, and Evangeline's story takes place in Cairo, Egypt. As I mentioned, I was absolutely pressed to read this entire book, all 351 pages of it. So I started a spreadsheet to help me keep track of like which pages I hadn't read already. And that was very helpful since the book skips around a lot. I couldn't really remember like which storyline I read and which one I didn't. As I mentioned, you can end up with different storylines for the same person, but a lot of the times they're the same exact writing, if that makes sense. Like if you have 2 different choices to, I don't know, for example, go to the garden or go to the house, you kind of end up in the same situation regardless, since I did read all of the different options. And they're very similar plot lines. So again, this is not the best book I've ever read, but I thoroughly enjoyed reading this book. It was just so much fun. Overall, I don't think I had a favorite storyline. They all were fun and interesting in their own way. I gave this a 3-star specifically for the experience. I loved it. I had The Hating Game on my list for a while now, and it was definitely an anticipated read for me this year because I kept hearing all these good things about it and seeing all these good reviews on Goodreads. And for me, it was just like an alright book. It was okay. I will say this was a unique take on the enemies to lovers trope because it showcased the characters' like fluid movement through animosity and affection. Whereas a lot of the enemies to lovers is like hate, and then love, and then maybe like a little 3rd act breakup scene and then love. Whereas for this one, I felt like Lucy and Josh kept like flip-flopping between animosity and affection, like back and forth. The story definitely had its cute moments, it had its funny moments, and it had like playful, you know, witty banter between Lucy and Josh. But at times I kind of just felt like the back and forth was a bit repetitive, which made me lose interest a bit when I was like reading it. But I did actually enjoy Lucy and Josh as characters, especially after you got to know Josh's history and his backstory a little bit more. I also really liked Danny in the book, and I thought that he could have been a good fit for Lucy, but he still ended up being like a really good friend. I then went and I watched the movie after reading the book, and I actually enjoyed the movie as well. There was a few things that I wish they included from the book, but overall I thought it was cute. I thought it was sweet and funny, especially with like the added side characters that they put in there, like the receptionist Jaff. I just thought that he was hilarious in the movie. I did not like how they did Danny in the movie. I just felt like they did not represent him the way the book wrote his character. They made him like odd and corny and like a little bit goofy. And although I still liked Danny's character in the movie, it just wasn't who he was. It wasn't who he was in the book. Maybe they made him like that on purpose to show like Lucy should obviously pick Josh. I don't know, it was just a little bit odd. But I think that watching the movie helped enhance and appreciate the book for me a little bit better. So overall, I gave this book 3.5 stars. Delilah Green Doesn't Care was also another anticipated read for me. I had this on my list for a while just because, again, of the good reviews I read about it. And again, this was another alright book. I mean, it was a cute book. I actually really liked it, but I didn't love it, and it's not a book that I would like remember to kind of mention to people. I don't know. Anyway, so I really had this idea, and I really wanted to paint wisteria flowers because the house that Delilah like grew up in is called Wisteria House, and I don't know, I love wisteria. I think they're beautiful, so I attempted to do this watercolor painting of wisteria. So anyway, back to the book. This was a pretty cute read. It's a sapphic romance between Delilah and Claire. Delilah has a unique charm and like a rebellious spirit. I actually really liked her character, and I really appreciated her refusal to kind of like conform to societal norms and appease her stepmother, you know, when she was younger and even when she's older. I really appreciated her determination to live her life to the fullest and on her own terms, and I was just rooting for her. One of the highlights of the story for me is the relationship between Claire and Delilah. I love their genuine connection with like Delilah's free spirit with like a little bit of a rebellious attitude, and Claire's more like nurturing, reserved nature. I just thought that they were super cute as a couple. I also appreciate Delilah's relationship with Claire's daughter, where they were able to connect through art and share, you know, a couple of special moments between the two of them. So this is the first book in a 3-book series. I definitely think I'm gonna just go ahead and finish out the series since it's not super long. And I do kind of want to know what happens with the other women that were in this book. So that should be interesting. Overall, I gave this a 3.5 star, and I really love how this page turned out. I love the purples with the gold. I just think that this is gorgeous. I love this. And the last thing I need to do is update all of my trackers. So first I'm gonna start off by updating my library card tracker with the 4 books that I read in May. Next up, the alphabet challenge. Woo, this has been a challenge for me, but we got to color in 3 letters this time around. I colored in D for Delilah Green Doesn't Care, M for My Lady's Choosing, and H for The Hating Game. And I'm going to update my quotes page with a quote from That Time I Got Drunk and Yeeted a Love Potion at a Werewolf. This quote reads, "I don't know if my tits were built for murder. I don't even think they were built with my back in mind. And boy, did I feel that." I felt that. Anyway, moving on. And lastly, I'm just updating my series tracker. I read the 2nd book in Mead Mishaps, and I also read the 1st book, Delilah Green Doesn't Care, in the Bright Falls series. And like I said, since it's just 2 books, I'll plan to read the next 2 as well. And with that, those are all of the books that I read in May. I actually really enjoyed myself this past month because with April being a little bit slower for me, I felt like I slid into a bit of a slump, and this definitely just picked me back up. I'm ready to keep reading. I'm so excited for next month. As always, thanks so much for watching, friend. I really appreciate it. Check out the video right here on the left-hand side of the screen to see all of the books I read in March, and check out the video right here on the right-hand side of the screen to see how we did this read a book backwards challenge. And I will see you over there. Bye.